This is called the quick turn or quick, there's two methods, quick turn and quick stop. The quick turn is also known as the figure eight because we're doing a figure eight. I understand why people write on the board what they do. The quick stop method it's also in the book, but that's for bigger boats that are less maneuverable. We're going to do the quick turn method, also known as the figure eight. Okay. What do you call a person in the water with no arms, no legs, floating?
A buoy.
Bob, because he's bobbing, right? So Bob is going to fall into the water, okay, one way or the other. First thing we're going to do is we're going to tell everybody that something just happened. And we're going to do that by saying man overboard. Okay? That process starts immediately. So someone falls in the water, we yell man overboard. And then we're going to assign a spotter. Okay? That spotter is going to be the person in the middle of the boat trimming the main. And they're going to stick their entire arm out and point it at Bob the whole time. Okay? The reason for that is, if you think about it, how high do you float in the water? Like this much, right? And even if you're wearing a PFD, you're not floating any higher, because that PFD is just helping you float, right? So if someone were to fall overboard, usually it's going to be like windy, wavy conditions, right? It could be at night. You could be out in the ocean where there actually is no land masses around, right? So you're really looking for this little speck on the surface of the water in like big 2-3 foot waves, right? Or more. So when we assign a spotter, we want that person to be solely focused on the person in the water, and we want their arm out pointed at Bob the whole time, okay? We're going to use our main sheet trimmer as our spotter, okay? So man overboard, and then we're going to assign the spotter. And we're going to throw PFDs. Okay, you're going to throw stuff at them, right? You're going to throw your Type 4 PFD, which is the throw. You're going to throw your seat cushions. You can throw coolers. You can throw, man overboard buoys. Pomeranians, those little dogs are great. They float and they make noise. It's a joke. I don't think it's as funny anymore because I have Zephyr now. But the idea here is what you're doing is you're creating both a large area to get back to and a breadcrumb trail to follow. Right? Now, if someone falls over in the harbor, don't throw beer cans at them. Right? Don't throw trash in the water. Right? In the harbor, you don't necessarily need to scatter the sea, which is what it's called. But I need to tell you that if you're like in the ocean and someone falls overboard, throw stuff in the water, because then it's easier or more likely to get back to them. And that person can then get to something that's floating and hold on to it. Right? So you have a bigger target. Okay? The skipper is then going to immediately get to a beam reach. Okay? Immediately get to a beam reach. Our sails will be set halfway out. Okay? And we're going to sail a beam reach for 10 to 15 seconds, 5 to 10 boat lengths. Okay? How long is 5 boat lengths?
15 to 20 seconds.
15, 20 seconds. But what's the length of 5 boat lengths?
Well, it's a J22.
22 times 5 is? 22 times 5.
110.
110 feet. 22 times 5 is 110.
Add a 0 divided by 5.
There you go. However you get there. 22 feet times 5 is 110 feet, okay? There are 5 J22s in a line on that dock, right? So that is a 120-foot dock. That's how long 5 boat lengths are. Why am I saying this? Because I guarantee you, when we do this, someone's going to sail 3 times that length, right? All you need to do is be able to sail 5 to 10 boat lengths, 10 to 15 seconds, okay? The further away you get to Bob, the harder it is to get back to Bob. That's the point. So the person who's spotting can call out the boat lengths, like 1 boat length, 2 boat lengths, 3 boat lengths, 4 boat lengths, right? 5 boat lengths, okay? Once you get to that 5 boat lengths, you're going to tack. You're going to turn from a beam reach, turn 270 degrees to a broad reach, and you're going to cross your weight right here, okay? That's key. You're crossing your weight, okay? Because we want to get to leeward of Bob, okay? So you're going to turn 270 degrees. When we turn and when we tack, we do not want to change our sails. That main sheet trimmer is going to point at Bob the whole time. Don't worry about the main sheet. Okay? When we tack, because we're turning 270 degrees from a beam reach to a broad reach, we're going through the no-go zone, and the no-go zone is actually going to be much larger because we're not trimming the sail all the way in. So we need to turn the boat harder, right? So you're going to need to push the tiller pretty far over. We want to keep turning until we cross the wake. Once we cross the wake, we're going to sail downwind of Bob. Okay? And how far downwind you go is called the glide zone. The glide zone is how long it takes for the boat to come to a stop when you're in the safety position. What is the safety position? Posis.
Poison.
O-S-I-S-I-O-N. Is that right?
No.
Yeah.
There's a T in there.
Yeah.
Safety position, okay? Safety position is close hauled. Gosh, my dyslexia is killing me today. C-L-O-S-E. Or close reach. Close safety position is close hauled or close reach with the sails out luffing and the boat is stopped moving. Okay? So if I tell you to go to the safety position, let the sails out and stop the boat moving. Okay, now we can start sailing again, just pull the sails back in. Okay? The glide zone is the distance it takes for that boat to slow down. Right? So in heavy air or light air, when are you going to have the longer glide zone? If the wind's strong or if the wind's light? Right, exactly. This is actually the first class that's ever said that. Okay? Usually people say, oh, when the wind's heavy, the glide zone's going to be longer. No. When the wind's heavy, you turn into that no-go zone or you turn into that safety position, the boat's going to stop very quickly because the sails are going to be luffing, creating a lot of drag. In lighter air, the boat weighs 2,000 pounds. You're going to have a lot more inertia to glide. Okay? So when Bob is about 60 degrees off the bow, you're going to turn into that safety position. Okay? And you're going to glide up to Bob with your sails luffing to leeward. Okay? So it's going to kind of look like this. You're going to turn into that safety position like this, and all your sails are luffing to leeward. Okay? And we're going to say that our glide zone is going to be between 1 to 2 boat lengths. Today, the wind's lighter, you're probably going to need 2 to 3 boat lengths. Okay? Now, the question becomes, do you pick Bob up on the windward side, or do you pick Bob up on the leeward side? Okay? Because we're not going directly into the wind. If we go directly in the wind into irons, you can't get really out of irons very easily. Okay? So you're either going to have to pick them up on the windward side, or you're going to have to pick them up on the leeward side.
Windward side, so you don't crush them in the water.
So that's the rule of thumb, but it's a debate that happens every year in U.S. sailing. Okay? And I'm going to argue, I'm going to give you both reasons for it, and I'm going to let you make the choice whenever the situation arises. Okay? So let's talk about some pros and cons here. Picking Bob up on the windward side, right? Pro, you're not going to run him over, right? Con, it's a harder maneuver to do. Why is it a harder maneuver to do? What's happening?
You're getting pushed away.
You're getting pushed away. Why are you getting pushed away? What's that called?
You're
Not drag. Nope. Lee what?
leeward.
Lee what?
Leeward.
Leeway. Leeway, right? Because of leeway, the boat's sliding to leeward, right? So when you turn into the safety position, that boat's going to continue to slide to leeward, right? So, pro, you're not going to hit Bob. Con, it's a harder maneuver to do because you're sailing away, because of leeway, you're moving away from Bob. Pro, you're keeping your crew safe, right? So if you go to pull Bob up, your crew is not in the way of the sails, right? They're on the windward side, therefore the rest of your crew is safe, okay? Now let's talk about windward. Pros, windward, it's an easier maneuver to do because of leeway is pushing you onto Bob. Con, leeway is pushing you onto Bob. Con, you're putting your crew at risk by picking Bob up on the leeward side. Okay? So the real situation is when do you choose between windward and leeward? Who dies in a drunk driving accident? The drunk driver or the sober guy or person that was involved in the accident?
The sober guy.
Why?
Because
He tensed up, right? The drunk guy just kind of went with the flow, where the sober guy was like, oh, fuck! Right? Okay, so here's the scenario. Person's in the water, person is conscious, you can have a conversation with them. You're picking them up to the leeward side, and you're not going to quite get there, you're going on to them. What are they going to do? They're going to brace for impact, right? Now they have this 2,000-pound boat or more coming down on them, and they're going to get hit hard, right? And might injure themselves more, right? But if you're picking them up to windward and you're having a conversation and you don't quite get there, hey, sorry, Bob, we'll be right back. Watch out for those sharks over there, and you sail away, right? To do the maneuver again.
Oh.
Right? But if the person's in the water and is unconscious, does it matter that you hit him with a boat?
Yeah.
No, because they're drowning, right? And you can't have a conversation with them, and their face is in the water and they're sucking water. You probably want to get them on board the boat right away and get them breathing again. Who cares if you happen to scratch them or maybe break an arm or something if they're not breathing, right? So I think the real debate is, how did the person go in the water? Right? Is the person conscious or not? Right? Is there other life-threatening injuries other than the fact that they're in the water and you're sailing away from them? Right? I think those are the reasons why you need to determine whether you're going to pick them up to windward or to leeward. Today, we're going to practice picking it up to windward because it's the harder maneuver to do, right? Because of leeway, right? So again, Bob falls in the water. First thing we say is man overboard. We assign the spotter, which is your main sheet trimmer. Okay? They're going to keep their arm on Bob the whole time and count off boat lengths for the skipper to know where they're going. The skipper's going to get to a beam reach. We're going to let the sails out halfway and leave them there. You're going to sail 5 to 10 boat lengths, 10 to 15 seconds on a beam reach. Okay? When the spotter says, okay, we're 5 boat lengths away, the skipper's going to say ready about, the crew's going to say ready, the skipper's going to say hard to lead. We're going to turn that boat 270 degrees, and then we're going to cross our wake. Okay? We're going to sail downwind to Bob. When Bob is about 60 degrees off the bow, we're going to turn into that safety position, and we're going to glide up to Bob and picking Bob up on the windward side with the sails luffing, barely sailing. Okay? Not really moving. Yep?
Practicing this in class, are we just going to throw?
We're going to use the Type 4 PFD.
Yeah, I'm
So before we leave the dock, make sure each boat has a Type 4 PFD. Okay? Now, this is a perfect scenario for a perfect world. Do we live in a perfect world?
No.
What do you mean? We don't?
There's pollution.
We have pollution.
Yeah, I don't think it's a right near actually let's say that.
Yeah. I hate that part of class. You guys just destroy my whole confidence for the rest of my life.
What?
The fact that we don't live in a perfect world. So what does that mean? That means we're not necessarily perfectly going to get to a beam reach, right? It means we're going to get maybe to a close reach, right? And then we go to tack. Look how much higher we are above, right? Conversely, we don't get quite to a beam reach, but we're sailing off at a broad reach. And then we go to tack. Look how much lower we are above, right? So we need to be, what is important here is we need to see where we are when we go into the wind, into irons, in relationship to where Bob is. That's going to determine the rest of the maneuver and how we handle it, right? So it's important to know where Bob is in relationship to where we are and where the wind is through this whole maneuver. Okay? Yep.
So if we can't do a perfect beam reach and we have to do another position, do we have to make sure that when we get to step 5 we have to be in irons, or?
You're not going to be in irons, you're going to be in a safety position. Close haul, close reaching with the sails out level.
Okay.
So you need to make sure you can get the safety position. Because what I don't want you to do is go to pick Bob up while you're sailing, right? Because if she went to grab Lucas in the water and you're moving at 1 or 2 knots, Lucas will pull her into the water, pull you into the water,
Okay.
right? Lucas grabbing, he's probably the biggest one in here other than myself. Anybody else here, he might not get pulled into the water, but he probably could be pulled back into the water with about half of you guys if you're moving fast enough, right? So the key here is to pick Bob up in the safety position with little to no speed.
Okay, so that's the only time that we have to do that. Like, since like if the wind position would change, that's the only time when we have to be, like luffing.
Yes, is it when you're in the safety position.
Okay.
Yep. So when you say turning into the safety position, we would uncleat the jib sheet. The main should already be out of the beam reach, so when you turn to that safety position, the main should automatically start luffing, right? Now, does current affect this scenario?
Yes.
No.
It's probably, what about that squiggly line? Is that-
This is someone writing on my sheet that I can't stand, that I have to constantly get pissed about.
Is it not like waves?
Current does not, because current is universal. Here and here, you're gonna have the same current. Unless you cross like a current line, which is this very dirty water line in the water, the current will be exactly the same. So you're all moving on the same current. So current does not matter, okay? So we're gonna do this, okay? Now let's say you get into irons and you can't get out of irons. The way we get out of irons is backwinding the jib, okay? So you're stuck in irons and you need to backwind the jib to get out of irons. Whichever jib sheet you pull on will be the tack you fall off onto, okay? So if you want to fall off onto starboard tack, you pull in on the starboard jib sheet, that's going to force the bow down, right? By the way, what did we do to the COE when we backwind the jib?
Moved it forward.
We moved it forward, right? We put the COE on the forward part of the bow, and it forces the bow downwind. All of a sudden your main will fill, you retrim the jib, and you sail away. Okay? So this is how you get out of irons, by backwinding the jib. Whichever jib sheet you pull on will be the tack you fall off onto. Does that make sense?
So you're basically going in reverse.
You're basically going into reverse. Yep, by pulling the bow down. Okay? All right, we're going to stop that. We're going to do one more.